Hi there everyone, so happy you've joined us on another informative edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host Theodore Henry. There is a lot in store for you, starting with the news of the day. You can't miss any of it, so please stick around.
Good day, I'm Twyla Whelan and this is your JS News for Monday, October 14, 2024. Foreign Affairs Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith is asserting that the government continues to adhere to Jamaica's refugee policy. During last Friday's sitting of the Upper House, the minister insisted that the country remained compliant with the policy and best practice, including as it relates to Haitian refugees. She was responding to questions from opposition senators on the repatriation of Haitian nationals who have sought asylum in Jamaica as that country faces a humanitarian crisis arising from security and political upheavals. Senator Johnson-Smith, who is the leader of government business in the Upper House, says the Haitians who arrive in Jamaica are treated with sensitivity, and those who have been repatriated have been sent home with the consent of Haiti's government and their prior notification.
They have been treated with dignity. There has been no random or arbitrary detentions. We are also in touch with the Haitian government. I am in touch with my counterpart, Dominique Dupuis. When someone claims asylum or claims refugee status, there is a legal process to prove that you are in fact entitled to that. There are several persons which are now under appeal.
Meanwhile, Senator Johnson-Smith reveals that discussions are being held with CARICOM foreign affairs ministers on the recent announcement by the government of the Dominican Republic that it would deport up to 10,000 Haitians a week.
We don't support mass deportations at all. It is a matter of great concern to us, but we recognize the right of countries to manage their national circumstances as well as Jamaica is doing.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade has unveiled its first Citizens Charter, signaling its commitment to delivering consistent and excellent service to internal and external clients.
It will inform our clients about their rights and, in fact, their privileges and responsibilities as citizens to receive high-quality services from here. And we know that we deal with difficult issues a lot of the time, and that sometimes makes for difficult conversations. But this charter is about how we manage that engagement on both sides. And it really is so important.
The charter was unveiled on Thursday during Customer Service Excellence Week at the Ministry's head office in downtown Kingston. The Foreign Affairs Minister expressed confidence that consistent demonstration of the principles and standards of the charter would guarantee excellence in its service delivery. Project lead at the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, Melody Palmer, pointed out that the detailed charter provides full and accurate information of the ministry's services and relevant contacts.
The basic objective of any citizens charter is to empower the citizens in relation to the entity's service delivery points. It is also meant to improve the accountability, transparency and quality of public services.
Jamaica has reached a significant milestone on the global stage, with new empirical evidence confirming that Jamaican ginger is the best in the world. Chief of Party for the USDA Food for Progress Jamaica Spices Project, Dr. Ronald Blake, made the disclosure during a recent JS think tank. He explains that a test was conducted by Rutgers Food Innovation Center, one of the world's leading research institutions, assessing the quality of Jamaican ginger compared to that of others.
They have done the test, and they have not just looked at the Jamaican ginger, but they have looked at the ginger from our other major trading partner. And what makes ginger high quality is something called tea gingerols. And it found that our ginger has 4 times more tea gingerol than the other ginger, especially the one that people like to buy and say it's big and fat and pretty.
The USDA Food for Progress Jamaica Spices Project has successfully established 157 acres of new production for ginger, turmeric and pimento utilizing clean planting materials. It has also created essential linkages among producers, processors and exporters, paving the way for expanded production and processing capabilities in Jamaica's spice sector. Looking ahead, Dr. Blake says ginger and turmeric are increasingly being incorporated into Jamaica's pharmaceuticals, particularly for respiratory illnesses.
I like to tell the world that you will never be able to look at a list of superfoods and ginger and turmeric will not be on it, even if that list is as short as 5, anywhere in the world. It therefore means Jamaica has the capacity to reset its economic viability through ginger and turmeric.
Telecommunications Minister Darrell Vaz says there is an urgent need to bolster Jamaica's cybersecurity infrastructure. This, he says, is important as critical sectors like energy, transportation, healthcare and finance are increasingly vulnerable to cyber attacks due to their reliance on digital infrastructure.
As these industries adopt AI and other advanced technologies, they become potential targets for cyber attacks. This is why the partnership between government and industry is essential, particularly when it comes to securing our nation's critical systems. The growing reliance on AI in these sectors means that AI itself is both a tool and a target in cybersecurity.
Minister Vaz was addressing Syncon Technologies' inaugural Artificial Intelligence and Cybersecurity Summit in celebration of its 30th anniversary last week. He also called for a culture of continuous learning to keep pace with evolving cyber threats while making use of shared threat intelligence, cutting-edge research, and industry-wide standards.
We all understand that AI, when used responsibly, can be a force for positive change. However, we also recognize that it presents complex challenges, particularly in areas like ethics, bias, privacy, and security. Addressing the challenges requires strong leadership, thoughtful regulation, and ongoing collaboration across all sectors of society.
Motorists must adopt a culture of road safety to reduce the prevalence of road crashes in Jamaica, which are largely avoidable. The urging comes from the Minister of Transport, Darrell Vaz. Since the start of the year, there have been 276 road fatalities from 236 collisions. Minister Vaz says these result in significant economic cost to individuals and the country, as well as immeasurable emotional toll on families and communities.
Road accidents stretch our healthcare system and diminish the well-being of our communities. Families are often left to deal with the cost of hospitalization, surgeries, rehabilitation, and long-term post-traumatic care. In the most tragic cases, they are burdened by the grief of an untimely death. Recent headlines have reminded us of this reality, such as a heartbreaking crash in Westmoreland that claimed the lives of a father and his infant son, and the tragic incidents involving students in Clarendon and Portland.
The minister was giving the keynote address at the recent Crash No More 2024 Defensive Driving Workshop held at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. It was organized by Grinnell Driving School with a focus on equipping drivers with the tools, tips and techniques necessary to avoid collisions.
Education and enforcement go hand in hand. Therefore, as we build the capacity of our motorists and road users, we ensure that the laws are effective. The Road Traffic Act 2018 and its regulations aim to address dangerous driving behaviors.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Twyla Whelan. Thanks for watching.
Our children are the men and the women of the future, and they need to be nurtured, edified, and protected from all forms of abuse so they can grow up to make positive contributions to society. We now turn the page of the magazine to learn more about the signs of child abuse and ways to protect children against such acts of cruelty.
In a society that values the safety and well-being of our children, it is crucial to be able to recognize the signs of child abuse. Child abuse is any act or failure to act on the part of a parent or caretaker which results in death, serious physical or emotional harm to a child. Abuses against children include physical, emotional, and sexual harm and neglect. Child abuse can sometimes go unrecognized. Today, we will discuss the warning signs and the significance of establishing safe spaces where children can seek assistance.
You'll see a change in the child's behavior. Be it their sleeping pattern may change, their eating patterns may change, how they express themselves. will change. You will also note that sometimes because they're not able to express in words what is happening to them, they will act out. So a child who is normally very mild-mannered and that sort of thing can become very aggressive, as well as a child who is normally very outspoken can become very withdrawn. You will also see, especially in younger children, age-inappropriate behavior. So something that you would not expect a 5 or a 6-year-old to have knowledge of, you know, based on their actions or based on some things that they're saying, you're recognizing that this child has, you know, a heightened sexual knowledge then, so to speak, to put it in that regard.
How can we ensure that children feel comfortable enough to speak out about any abuse they may be facing? The experts say it's vital to establish environments that make them feel safe and cared for.
We always encourage persons, parents especially, be attentive to your children, right? When you notice something different with your child, explore and probe it. One of the things is that some children are very afraid, not only to express what is happening to them, but to tell those who are around them and those who they should feel safe enough talking to. So we encourage persons to provide safe environments for the children, encourage the children to be open to talk.
Parents and guardians can create safe spaces in their homes by establishing open communication. Encourage your children to express their thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment. Listen actively and validate their emotions even if you don't agree with them. Establish trust by being reliable and consistent in your actions. When children feel they can trust their parents, they are more likely to open up and seek support when needed. Set clear boundaries to help children feel secure. Explain rules and consequences calmly and consistently, and enforce them with empathy. Approaching the child must be done with care, ensuring they trust the person they confide in.
Once that is there, the child is likely to open up. So if it could even be the parent and the child is not opening up to the parent. It could be that there's a teacher that the child will speak with, right? The important thing is getting the child to open up, and they're not going to do that if they don't trust the person or if they don't feel safe and comfortable in their environment.
The concept is being applied to child-friendly spaces set up by the government for young victims.
But the idea behind the spaces is to, instead of a child coming into our office and doing counseling or getting emotional support, yes, in a very comfortable environment, we have created child-friendly spaces of a room that is outfitted to provide comfort to a child, to help the child to relax. So even the very furniture in the room is the size of a child in some instances. We also have very comfortable furniture. We have murals on the wall. We have various tools and toys that the child would feel comfortable interacting with. The very color of the room is of such that it provokes relaxation and comfort.
Parents and guardians are being urged to seek early intervention if their child or a child they know is being abused.
So I would say immediately, once you recognize that there is need or that there is trauma in this particular child, seek intervention. The help is there. Victim services is there, and our services are all free.
Let us work together towards creating a world where every child feels secure, supported, and heard.
On our next stop along today's Jamaica Magazine journey, we're exploring another measure of safety and protection. And this time, it relates to our architectural resilience to disasters. Come, follow us for some useful building tips from an architect to secure your homes.
Living on an island where the climate can shift dramatically, from scorching heat to sudden downpours and the occasional natural disasters like hurricanes and earthquakes, and knowing how to design our homes is more crucial than ever. Each site, whether on flat land or mountainous terrain, presents unique challenges that emphasize the importance of tailored, site-specific architectural solutions that cannot be overstated. In a recent discussion with an architect, Conrad Jackson, we delved into the complexities of designing buildings that harmonize with their specific environments. And according to Mr. Jackson, effective design begins with choosing the right materials and adapting to local conditions. Weather is among the conditions to be considered when building. For Jamaica, heavy rainfall is a significant concern at different times of the year. Mr. Jackson makes the point that the initial step in the design process involves knowing the environment in which you are building.
As it relates to heavy rainfall, once you start doing your investigation as a consultant to go onto a particular site, one of the things you do is you interview the locals, and you also do your research for the type of activities that would have taken place within the last 100 years as it relates to climate change, the impacts of flooding, and how the impact of climate change and the increase in the sun and the intensity of the sun for the specific year.
To combat rising temperatures, insulation plays a crucial role. It's recommended to insulate wooden walls with materials such as foam or creating air cavities with concrete blocks to significantly reduce heat transfer. In addition, incorporating cross ventilation and shading devices helps to minimize direct heat gain. For homes near the coast, where rising sea levels and salt corrosion pose risks, selecting the right materials is essential.
You need to use those particular materials to mitigate against the salt corrosive nature of the environment. So for argument's sake, for a door, you'd probably be using aluminum hinges or brass hinges or brass hardware or nickel type finished stuff that you would not necessarily have to use inland.
When it comes to hurricane-prone regions, the choice of roofing is critical. Mr. Jackson describes a roofing solution called a standing seam.
So what that is a corrugated type of sheeting that has a seam that's about 1.5 inches tall. Which is also that 1.5 inches tall seam is specially crimped, and it is all actually screwed down to the rafters and the sacking that is underneath that sheeting to give it stability in case of a hurricane. The seam itself is so tall that the amount of water that will capture on a roof between the run from the peak of the roof, the highest point, to the eave of the roof, that the water will not build up and pass the height of that seam. The sheeting that would be used in that case can also be cut specific to the length of the roof, which means that if you consider old-time zinc roof, they came in particular lengths because it could only be transported on shorter trucks and it was easier to handle. But the roofing material now, which I'm suggesting, which is standing seam, can be cut at the specific length of this roof.
For existing structures with zinc roofs, Mr. Jackson recommends adding fiberglass insulation between rafters.
As it relates to heat and the roof, you can get roof sheeting that is also insulated with foam embedded in it, as well as there are numerous things that can be done. You can put in fiberglass insulation in between the rafters, which will help to minimize the heat gain between the rafters, the ceiling, and the occupant of that space. So it acts as a buffer then, and it acts the same way it does as the foam, sprayed on foam like you see on the exterior of some of these buildings. It really just helps to slow down the heat transfer from the exterior to the interior of the space.
Ultimately, as Mr. Jackson stresses, it's important to remember that a house is one of your biggest investments.
Real estate in general, for most persons, when you're going to be doing this, choose wisely. Use registered professionals who can help you fulfill your dream and make this dream become a reality in the right way.
Jamaicans consume on average 9 to 12 grams of sodium or salt per day, twice the World Health Organization recommended amount of less than 5 grams or 1 teaspoon of salt, and more ideally, less than 2 grams of sodium per adult per day from all food sources. This excess salt in the diet causes high blood pressure, kidney and bone damage, gastric cancer, obesity, and worsening of asthma. Reduce the amount of salt you consume to no more than 3 to 5 grams or half to 1 teaspoon per day for adults and less than 2 grams for children under 11 years of age. Let's shake the salt habit and live healthy. A public service message from the Jamaica Information Service.
We're at the top of Heritage Week, and at this juncture, let's unwind in the few remaining minutes of Jamaica Magazine with some Dinky Mini. Put on your dancing shoes and shake those legs to this traditional dance form, which is part of our island's African cultural retention.
There's no one way to truly play the beat of our Jamaican culture. No one way to unfold the depth of the various movements that are intricately intertwined with the drums, or whatever uniquely made instruments that accompany each other. And certainly, no one way to shake our hips, tap our feet, move our hands or dress to distinguish the truest form of our heritage in dance. But there are certainly several ways to tell the island's tale of musical artistry and infectious rhythms. Today, we tell the story of the African retention in one of our Jamaican traditional folk forms, Dinky Mini.
In order to showcase the intricacies of this cultural treasure, we visited the Islington Cultural Group in St. Mary. Dinky Mini is of African origin of the wake and is usually performed on the 2nd to 8th night of the traditional 9 nights after the death of a person. It is very lively and celebratory in nature because its main purpose is to cheer up the bereaved. The distinguishing characteristic and basic movement of Dinky Mini is dab step.
You can dab to the side or forward and back. So the dabbing movement is on the ball of the foot, the ball, and if the floor is hotter, you're taking it up. Aye, aye. So you get a dabbing step, and you can dab forward and you can dab back. Forward and back or to the side. to the side or forward and back. You can bend a little more and you can forward and back. The more you bend, that's what you get the beauty of the movement.
Another movement is the gallop step, which is done with the knees together as the dancer hoops and splay the legs apart with the knees still held close. The flexed foot pumping movement happens when the weight is firmly on the left foot. The right foot is then flexed and this working leg is pumped across the body in quick jabbing movements. The corkscrew movement is also done, but mostly by the ladies. It is a spiral rotation of the torso using the ball of the right foot and the left one flat on the ground.
And I should say too, in the Dinky Mini, the dominant thing for the males is the knock knee. Just as what I was doing the dabbing, the knock knee, the knock knee.
Dinky Mini is considered a dance for couples and takes the form of a ring game, utilizing circles and semicircles. The dancers sing using mento style, and the songs are mainly call and response.
The dominant instrument in Dinky Mini is the benta. The benta is like 4 joints of bamboo, and in the middle is like a piece of it is lift and replaced with some strings like line, and then on that line and attached with 2 bars at the ends, and it is placed on a block when it is being played, and then you have the gourd, we call it gourdy. The seeds are taken from it and there's one hole in it, and that hole, from that it moves along the strings, the line that they use for the strings, and it gives a nice little sound. A coo, a coo, a coo. So as the gourd move along the strings, it gives a nice little sound. A coo, a coo, a coo, and that is where you get the steps from, the dabbing step.
Other instruments such as the grater and rattle and bass drums join in keeping the dancers going.
We have to remember that for our traditional folk forms, they can dance forever. That's why you find that when they go to the 9-night and dance, they can dance from night right back to the next morning. Why? Because all of our movements is basically done in a bent knee position. And when you're in a bent knee position, you can dance, you're relaxed, and you can dance for a long period of time.
Like all the other African retention folk forms, there is a specific dress code for both genders. Loose skirt and peasant blouse for the females, and a tailored pants and a dashiki shirt for the men. Today, Dinky Mini is mostly practiced in its home parish, St. Mary. But it is also commonly performed as part of the annual Jamaica Cultural Development Commission's Festival of the Performing Arts Competition. No matter where it is practiced, it's hard to not notice Dinky Mini in action, with its distinctive rhythm, which plays a key role in our island's rich traditional dance legacy.
Our half-hour journey through the pages of Jamaica Magazine ends right here for today. But please join us again tomorrow on this same station for more news, for features and information that you can use. In the meantime, visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for this and other offerings. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Theodore Henry. Until next time, live up and live good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.